Section 1. The First Stewards, the Lenape and a Land Unnamed. This land holds many stories. It is a place of quiet rivers and bustling highways of dense forests and sprawling suburbs. Today it sits nestled between two great American cities, a corridor of immense importance. But long before the concrete was poured, before the colonies were drawn, and before the first European sails appeared on the horizon, this was a cherished home. For thousands of years, its gentle hills, fertile valleys, and winding waterways belonged to a people known as the Lenape. Their story is the true beginning of this place we now call New Jersey, a foundational chapter that resonates even today. The history of this land does not start with a line on a map, it starts with the people who first called it home. The Lenape, whose name means the original people, lived in a vast and bountiful territory they called Lenapehoking. This pre-colonial land stretched far beyond the borders of modern New Jersey, encompassing parts of what would become Pennsylvania, New York, and Delaware. They were a sophisticated and deeply spiritual people, their lives intricately woven into the rhythms of the natural world. They were skilled farmers, cultivating fields of corn, beans, and squash, and expert hunters and fishers, drawing sustenance from the abundant forests and rivers. Their society was organized into clans, each with its own distinct traditions and responsibilities, creating a complex and stable community that thrived for countless generations. Their homes were not permanent fixtures upon the land, but moved with the seasons, following the migration of game and the needs of their crops. Along the Delaware and Hudson rivers, they established villages, trading networks, and ceremonial sites that formed the heart of their culture. They spoke the languages of the Algonquian family, passing down their history and beliefs through rich oral traditions, stories that explain the creation of the world and their place within it. The Lenape were the first stewards of this land, shaping its earliest history not through conquest or dominion, but through a profound and enduring connection to the earth itself. Their presence laid the very groundwork for all the stories that would follow. The world of the Lenape was one of balance and continuity, a cycle of life that had remained unbroken for millennia. They understood the land in a way that newcomers never could, reading the seasons and the stars and the flow of the tides. Their paths became the first roads, their villages the sites of future towns. The arrival of Europeans in the 1620s would mark a dramatic and irreversible turning point, not just for the Lenape, but for the land itself. An era of profound change was dawning, one that would introduce new peoples, new ambitions, and new conflicts to this ancient and storied landscape. The first chapter was closing, and a new, more turbulent one was about to begin. Section 2. A Contested Coast. The arrival of the Dutch and Swedes, the early 17th century brought with it the winds of change, carried across the Atlantic on tall European ships. In the 1620s, the Dutch West India Company arrived, drawn by the promise of wealth from the lucrative fur trade. They established a sprawling colonial territory called New Netherland, with settlements along rivers bordering the Lenapehoking. The Dutch were merchants and traders first, setting up forts and trading posts like Fort Nassau near present-day Gloucester City. Their primary interest was commercial, and for a time they traded and negotiated with the Lenape, exchanging European goods for beaver pelts. This was a fragile new world, driven by commerce. The Dutch were not alone. In 1638, a smaller but determined group of Finnish settlers arrived, sponsored by the New Sweden Company. They founded New Sweden along the lower Delaware River, centered on Fort Christina, in what is now Wilmington, Delaware, with settlements extending into modern-day New Jersey. The colonists brought customs and agricultural practices, including iconic log cabins, a style later tied to the American frontier. For a brief period, two European powers vied for influence, their outposts dotting the riverbanks, creating a mosaic of languages and cultures. Mid-1600s colonial map showing overlapping New Netherland and New Sweden claims. This coexistence was short-lived. The Dutch, with a larger presence in New Netherland, saw the Swedish colony as a threat to their claims and trade. Tensions simmered for nearly 2 decades, with disputes over land and access to Lenape trade. The small Swedish colony, lacking support from Sweden, struggled to defend itself. The competition created uncertainty, a prelude to larger imperial struggles across the eastern seaboard. The fate of the land was far from settled. In 1655, the conflict reached its climax. Director General Peter Stuyvesant sailed a Dutch fleet down the Delaware River and demanded New Sweden's surrender. Outnumbered, the Swedish governor capitulated. The Dutch absorbed the Swedish settlements, ending the Swedish colonial experiment in North America. For a time, the Dutch seemed secure, but a far greater power, with imperial designs, was already watching from across the ocean, preparing to make its move. Section 3, an English seizure and a new name. The Dutch consolidation of power would prove to be fleeting. By the 1660s, England had emerged as a dominant maritime force. Its rivalry with the Netherlands had intensified into a global competition for trade and for territory. The English crown, under King Charles II, viewed the Dutch colony of New Netherland as an inconvenient wedge separating its own colonies in New England, Virginia, Maryland. Control of the entire Atlantic coast was a strategic imperative. The Dutch presence was an obstacle that had to be removed. The stage was set for a dramatic and decisive shift in the colonial balance of power. In the summer of 1664, acting on the authority of the king, an English fleet sailed boldly into the harbor of New Amsterdam, the capital of New Netherland. Timeline 1664. England seizes New Netherland from the Dutch. The English commander, Richard Nicolls, demanded the surrender of the entire colony. Peter Stuyvesant, the same fiery leader who had conquered New Sweden, was determined to resist. However, the Dutch colony was ill-prepared for a fight. Its defenses were weak. Its citizens were weary of conflict. Many were more interested in protecting their commercial interests than in fighting for a distant company. Faced with overwhelming force and a lack of popular support for war, Stuyvesant was forced to surrender without a single shot being fired. The English takeover was swift and complete. The entire territory of New Netherland, including the lands west of the Hudson River, fell under English rule. King Charles II granted this vast prize to his brother, James, the Duke of York. The Duke then moved quickly to reward two loyal supporters who had stood by the royal family during the English Civil War: Sir George Carteret, Lord John Berkeley. He gifted them the tract of land situated between the Hudson River, the Delaware River. This transfer of ownership from the crown to private individuals marks the official birth of a new English colony. The choice of the name was a deeply personal and political act. Sir George Carteret had served as the governor of the island of Jersey in the English Channel. During the English Civil War, he had defended the island as a royalist stronghold and offered refuge to the future King Charles II. To honor Carteret's loyalty, the new colony was officially named New Jersey. This name was more than just a label on a map. It was a symbol of political allegiance, a reward for service, and a permanent link between this piece of the New World and a small, rugged island in the Old. With the colony named, its new proprietors, Carteret and Berkeley, set about the business of governing. However, instead of ruling the territory as a single entity, they soon made a decision that would define New Jersey for decades. In 1676, they formally divided their holding into two distinct provinces. Sir George Carteret took control of East Jersey. Lord John Berkeley's share, sold to Quakers, became West Jersey split map of colonial New Jersey, labeled East Jersey and West Jersey, with capitals Perth, Amboy, and Burlington division line from Little Egg Harbor to the Delaware Water Gap. This created two separate governments, two capitals, and two very different societies, connecting the agricultural communities of the West with the commercial ports of the East. The colony developed a diverse economy based on farming, iron mining, and trade, serving as a vital agricultural supplier to the burgeoning cities of New York and Philadelphia. New Jersey was finding its identity as a crossroads colony, a vital link in the chain of 13. As the decades passed, the people of New Jersey, like their neighbors in the other 12 colonies, became increasingly involved in the growing tensions with Great Britain. The colony played a crucial and strategic role in the American Revolution. Because of its location between New York City and Philadelphia, the seat of the Continental Congress, It became known as the Crossroads of the Revolution, hosting more battles and skirmishes than any other state. Black screen with white text transition. From George Washington's daring crossing of the Delaware River to the pivotal Battle of Monmouth, New Jersey's fields and towns became the testing ground for the young nation's fight for independence. New Jersey's journey from pre-colonial homeland to a divided proprietary colony, and finally to a unified royal province, was a story of constant transformation. This complex origin story, full of shifting borders and competing powers, helped forge a resilient and diverse society. In 1787, having endured the crucible of war, New Jersey took its place as one of the original 13 states by ratifying the U.S. Constitution. Its creation was not a simple act, but a long and complicated process. In the end, the work of making New Jersey, of drawing its lines, uniting its people, and fighting for its future, helped shape the very map and the very ideals of America itself. New Jersey, small in size, big in story. The persistent turmoil and administrative chaos of the divided Jerseys could not last. In 1702, growing tired of the endless disputes and the proprietors' inability to govern effectively, the English crown intervened. Queen Anne revoked the proprietors' governing rights and united the two provinces into a single entity, the Royal Colony of New Jersey. While the proprietors retained their rights to the land, political authority was now consolidated under a royal governor appointed by the monarch. This act of reunification marked a pivotal moment, ending the era of division and setting New Jersey on a new path toward a more stable and unified future as a single colonial body. For much of the 18th century, New Jersey shared its royal governor with the more populous and powerful colony of New York, a situation that often left its specific needs and interests overlooked. Despite this, the newly unified colony began to grow and prosper. Towns like Burlington and Perth Amboy. Roads were improved, connecting the agricultural communities of the West with the commercial ports of the East. The colony developed a diverse economy based on farming, iron mining, and trade, serving as a vital agricultural supplier to the burgeoning cities of New York and Philadelphia. New Jersey was finding its identity as a crossroads colony, a vital link in the chain of 13. As the decades passed, the people of New Jersey, like their neighbors in the other 12 colonies, became increasingly involved in the growing tensions with Great Britain. The colony played a crucial and strategic role in the American Revolution. Because of its location between New York City and Philadelphia, the seat of the Continental Congress, it became known as the Crossroads of the Revolution, hosting more battles and skirmishes than any other state. Black screen with white text transition. From George Washington's daring crossing of the Delaware River to the pivotal Battle of Monmouth, New Jersey's fields and towns became the testing ground for the young nation's fight for independence. New Jersey's journey from pre-colonial homeland to a divided proprietary colony, and finally to a unified royal province, was a story of constant transformation. This complex origin story, full of shifting borders and competing powers, helped forge a resilient and diverse society. In 1787, having endured the crucible of war, New Jersey took its place as one of the original 13 states by ratifying the U.S. Constitution. Its creation was not a simple act, but a long and complicated process. In the end, the work of making New Jersey, of drawing its lines, uniting its people, and fighting for its future, helped shape the very map and the very ideals of America itself. New Jersey, small in size, big in story.